Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Biblio Files. And today I have a wonderful guest that I'm excited about because he's been a major influence in my work. And I'd like to introduce you to Richard McKenzie and or Rick as he's otherwise known, and his beautiful wife Dee, who is his main supporter and cheerleader. And today we're going to talk about how what we do as authors is affected by the other people we work with. Last week, we had a wonderful discussion with Krista Nicely, who did the narration for my audiobook, and that was just a lot of fun. This week, we're going to talk about something that's really, really important. The thing that I hear over and over and over again as a writer is get a good cover on your books. This is Infinity on Fire, and the glossy cover is reflecting my computer screen here, but this is one of the main characters in the book, and we're going to talk about the collaboration process and how these covers come together as authors and artists work together. So Richard and Dee, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hi, nice to be here.
We're so glad to have you. Richard, can you take just a moment and tell us a little bit about what you do?
What I do? Well, I've been involved in photography for almost as long as I can remember. And originally it was just going out and taking pictures of whatever you could find. And that grew into a variety of different approaches. And in the last few years, I guess I've developed more of a way of taking individual photographs and combining them with other ones to help create a story. And that involves mostly Photoshop work, some Lightroom. And then recently I've started to get more involved in programs that deal with three-dimensional models. I haven't gotten into sculpting them and that type of thing yet. It's more some pre-made models and then changing their dress and then animating them to certain poses in order to help create the story that I'm trying to tell. But it's been a long process. Not that it's been a work type of thing, but now that I'm retired, it's become more of almost an obsession, doing it all the time. As my wife here is giggling away, saying, yes, I understand that.
And Dee, you have been participating in his beautiful art for quite a while as well. I know that you guys travel a lot. Is that like one of the big benefits of his photography?
Well, I've always wanted to do some traveling. Rick, in his efforts to become more and more diversified as a photographer, used to take beautiful, beautiful landscape pictures. And then he said, that's not enough. I want to do something different. And so that's when he first started doing things where he would make us into giants in a particular scene. And for example, when we traveled to Italy, to Cinque Terre, he did some research on the internet in advance. And when we got there, he said, we have to be in this place at sunset. So we hiked and found the place. And then at 8 o'clock, we went up there, and sure enough, he took all kinds of pictures. We spent a couple hours there. And then when we got home, he added me as a giant taking a picture of that town at sunset. He had seen different pictures of that town from that spot, but he added me as a giant taking a picture. So I used to do a lot of modeling for him. Now that he's found the 3D models on the computer, he doesn't use me as a model as much.
Oh, well, you know what? I happen to say, when we're done here, we're going to leave a place where people can go in and actually look at some of these pictures. They are amazing. So this is really interesting because Richard and I mean, I live in Washington State. He lives in Canada, okay? And we would have never met if it wasn't for Cindy Jones Erickson. So shout out to Cindy. Thank you, thank you, thank you for making this connection. And that's another important thing, is you never know who somebody else knows. So in your journey to do all the things that an author does, it's really good to network and make connections. Now, that being said, Cindy said, hey, there's this guy, and he does these really cool pictures, and I know that you're looking for a cover artist. Maybe you should talk to him. And Richard had never done a book cover before. So sure enough, we got together, we started to talk about it. I gave him some ideas and thoughts about how this is all done, and he starts sending me concepts. Okay. Now, not every artist that you work with is going to be able to, they're great with the art, but as far as the collaboration part, this might be difficult. So here's what you should know about how we work together. He says, what about this? I look at it and say, maybe we need to tell the story a little differently. Maybe this element needs to be in. Can you do this? And he goes, well, I don't know. I think I can. He always figures it out. So in this relationship, what are some of the things you learned about making covers for authors?
Well, like you said, there's a lot of collaboration that goes on back and forth, because you have an idea from what you hear initially, and you start working on that, and then you find that, well, maybe that idea just doesn't tell the story quite. I might think it does, but then you're writing the book, so you have a different vision of it, and I'm trying to get into your head to find out exactly what you're trying to say. And that constant back and forth, I'll do a little bit. I won't complete the whole picture, because I know it's probably not going to be exactly what you want. So I'll do a little bit, and I'll throw that out, and I'll see how that goes. And then we just go back and forth. And eventually it works out. And it usually takes, well, maybe 5 or 6 times back and forth. At least that's what it's been for the last 3 books.
I think it's been probably about a 3 to 4 month process to get a finished cover each time. And I think that that's another thing that authors need to know, is this isn't instantaneous. It's not, if you want a really good cover, it's not going to happen and you say here, click, 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 and it's done. There's a whole process, and especially once you go to publish, it's not just about putting a pretty picture up there. There's the type fonts that need to be figured out, and the spine of the book. You have your spine of the book that has to be done. Then you have your blurb and everything on the back cover that needs to be done. And there's a certain amount of styling, and there's certain things that need to have places for and like that. And as you do this, there are guidelines, because, a 300-page book and a 400-page book is going to have a different width of spine. So the various publishing houses have templates that once you know how many pages you've got, templates that you can then send to your cover artist and say, okay, here's what we need. Now, that's if you're publishing a paperback book. Obviously, if it's just a Kindle, you only need just this. Go ahead, Richard.
Well, that's one of the things that you find out as you go along, because you don't know how many pages the book is going to be until you finished writing it. And if you don't know that, then obviously I don't know that. And so you can't complete everything until the book is completely done. And so you're doing a little bit at a time, and it's
Well,
I think one of the biggest things for anybody who's never done this before, like me, is to know that it's you've got to work, you really have to work with the other person. And if they don't particularly like your first effort, it's not a slight on you. It's just that you haven't figured out exactly, each one of you haven't figured out exactly what you're what your finished product is trying to be.
And I think that's one of the reasons why both of you have been happy with the final version, is the way that the two of you communicate really well. I think you explain your ideas, what you want, and almost help Rick picture it. And then he has a better focus or a better idea when he goes to put it onto the computer. And I think it's been a really good communication from what I've seen between the two of you, figuring out what's in each other's heads.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think there are a lot of authors out there who, for whatever reason, decide to do their own covers. And they're not necessarily particularly skilled in art or composition or design or any of those kinds of things. And so they get a cover and it's got words on it and it's got a picture on it, but it's not impactful. And I think one of the things that I love about the way we work together is that you are really good about hearing very clearly what I'm trying to tell you, what the picture I've got in my head. And of course, as an author, I can draw stick figures. I'm really good at that. But that's as far as my artistic talent really goes. I'm good at coloring too. I can do coloring. But I paint pictures with words. And you see with artist eyes this picture in your head that I'm trying to transfer to your brain. And it's quite an interesting journey that we've taken. I mean, the third book is out, and we're getting some good feedback on that one, and I'm very excited about that. I'm getting a lot of nice comments, by the way, about that cover.
The one thing I wanted to add is that you can have an idea about a picture for a cover, but you have to realize too that it has to fit into that format of the cover of the size of the book. And that idea doesn't always work that way. It has to be a portrait format. And if you've got a horizontal or a landscape image in mind, it's just not going to work. And not only that, you also have to think that, well, it's going to go onto a CD cover, which is a square format. And so you're trying to combine your idea, your vision of what the cover is supposed to say in two different formats at the same time.
Exactly.
And so there's some thought, thinking, just sitting thinking, well, what can fit into these formats, and then tell the story at the same time.
Exactly. And I think, we definitely ran into that with the third cover a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
The third cover, it was like you had the initial picture you did was beautiful and it was very detailed and it had all this really cool stuff going on. And I'm going, I love it, but it's not going to work. Because first of all, you see it on the screen and it's big and you can see the details and stuff. You put it on the book cover and all of a sudden it's smaller, the details are harder to make out and not as impactful, because you want the book cover to just kind of jump off the shelf at people. We did something similar with this one, the first one, The House on Infinity Loop, and we played with how close she was to the camera. The door that's in the background that's kind of glowing back there, the cat, how big did he need to be, all of these things, and then to fit the words in the right places so it didn't obscure things, so all of that. It was quite a challenge for both of us to, take what you originally started with and just kind of make it fit. The CD cover for the audiobook, square, as you said, looks great. You just had to do some tweaking and rearranging. So that flexibility as an artist is really, really important.
Yeah.
So it's always a learning experience. Every book, everything is new to some extent because every idea is different.
Definitely. Wait till you see what we're going to do with Lizzie. The next 3 books in the series are going to be about Lizzie, who is Jenny, our main character's aunt, who actually gives her the house that starts the whole story. So that's going to be lots and lots of fun. She's quite the character. And I mean that in more than one context. So Dee, you have been an amazing cheerleader for Richard. And one of the reasons I asked you to come on the show with him was that I was so excited to see the support that you give him. I have a great support system. My husband is amazing and really keeps me straight and makes sure that I get all the food that I need and that I get my breaks and all those kinds of stuff. How is it being in the support role of someone who does so many great and creative things?
Well, can I answer that first before she does?
That's good. It gives me time to think.
She has so many creative outlets that it's like a 50-50 balance. I'll go and work on whatever I'm working on, and she has all her other things she's doing at the same time.
Like what kind of other things?
You came up with the idea. Go ahead.
Well, she does genealogy, and she has a few people that she's been working on their family histories for. She hosts a French chat group with a number of her friends. So every Tuesday morning, so you missed it this morning.
On Tuesdays and Fridays on Zoom.
And Fridays, they sit in for a couple of hours. They all speak French.
Oh,
yeah. They used to go to a little coffee place and they would talk there. Now it's all done through Zoom. Yeah. And she's also involved in Scottish country dancing, and she's the branch secretary for the group, and that keeps her busy almost all the rest of her time.
Sounds like it.
So basically you're saying I support you by leaving you alone?
Well, that's one way of putting it.
But not just that. I mean, often he'll have ideas and he'll say, do you like this or do you like that? Or can you tell me more about, I'm more of a reader than he is. I tell people he reads something if it's on a computer screen and it tells him how to do something. But he doesn't generally read for pleasure. So he'll ask me about the books and what can you tell me about Jenny? Or what can you tell me about Tidbit? Is there ever a scene? Well, yesterday he was saying, I found a model of a dragon. Is there a dragon in the books? And so, so different things like that. And also, I mean, as I said, sometimes he'll have an idea and he'll kind of run something past me and say, do you like this better or that better?
Yeah, there are definitely dragons.
Yeah, there's a dragon. And I found it actually, I said, I have an idea of where it is in the first book. And I found the description when Jenny first meets the dragon. And we'll go from there. I said, you got to make the dragon green. And he says, oh, I think I can make it green.
I love it. I love it. That's so cool. I like seeing collaboration in all of its forms, and we're going to be talking about that a lot on this show because an author or an artist's life is not done in a vacuum, almost never. We have people we have to interact with. We have editors, beta readers, we have our fans, obviously, that we have to deal with, publishers, on and on and on and on. Publicists, there are so many different people that an author has to deal with, and artists are the same thing. You do gallery shows, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a little more difficult this year. In fact, it hasn't happened so much this year.
I'm sure.
Everything's been canceled. But in the past, yeah, I have been involved in a gallery. If you know Ontario, you know where Manitoulin Island is, and there's a gallery there that I've put a number of photographs in. I was supposed to have a show in one of the local churches this coming fall, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
and he'd been accepted for a large art show that was supposed to take place Mother's Day weekend in the Niagara area. And that was canceled this year. It would have been his first year there. So
yeah, I hear you. I had a
everything's-
book signing that had to be canceled.
Yeah.
But you know
Yeah.
what? That's all right, because we're going to store up all that creative energy. And then when everything starts blooming again and we can get out there and start doing things, we're going to be ready, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's still there.
Absolutely. Thank you, both of you, for appearing on Biblio Files today. I really, really appreciate. I'm just really, really glad that we got connected, because it's just made all the difference for me. And I appreciate you taking out the time to chat and to just kind of talk about this. That's kind of a really important thing that authors need to know about. And it lets all of my readers into the world of writers and how we do what we do. And so keep watching, take a moment and comment, share, like, all that kind of cool and lovely stuff. And we'll see you next time on Biblio Files.